Hi there, my name is Annalisa and I'm a product manager at Franc. In this Franc Academy lesson, we're going to be talking about financial planning and how it can help you work towards your financial freedom. Having a financial plan is probably one of the most important parts of your adult life, because if you have a big goal like financial freedom, you need to plan for it, right? But most people don't even know where to start in creating one. Sure, you can do it yourself, especially if your situation is simple. If your situation is more complex, like if you have dependents or your net worth is higher, you might want or need some extra help from the experts. That's a financial advisor. We've got a whole lesson on financial advisors that you can watch right here. If you're putting together a financial plan yourself, or even if you're doing it with a financial advisor, you'll go through 7 steps. Step 1, start with an assessment of your net worth and cash flow. It's important to understand how much money goes in and how much money goes out. This is usually done with a budget that tracks your income, expenses, and assets. Once you have a good idea of your cash flow and how much money you have saved and invested, you can start to think of your future savings and investing goals. Step 2. Make sure you have provisions in place for emergencies. The first and most important saving goal is an emergency fund. This kicks into place if you lose your job or if you have an unexpected big cost that arises that you can't avoid. You should look to have at least 3 to 6 months of your monthly expenses in your emergency fund, which should be invested in a low-risk investment like a money market or a fixed income fund, or savings account that gives you immediate access to your money in case of emergencies. Step 3. Map out your savings and investing goals. Investment goals change as we grow up. When you start your career, you may want to buy a car. Later, you may want to buy property, and once you start a family, you want to make sure you educate your children. The important thing to keep in mind is that each goal requires a specific investment strategy or approach based on the time horizon of the goal in question. For short-term goals, 0 to 3 years, like next year's holiday, you want to save and invest in low-risk products like a money market fund or savings account. For medium-term goals, which are 3 to 5 years, like saving up for a house deposit, you want to look at a balance of low and medium risk investments. For long-term goals, which are 5 to 10 plus years, you're able to look at much higher risk investments like equity or cryptocurrency. Step 4, consider your retirement. Retirement is probably the most important investment goal. It's also the goal with the longest time horizon. We've got a whole separate video on planning and investing for retirement too. You can find it right there. Step 5, get adequate insurance. Making sure you have enough and not too much insurance is an important part of any financial plan. It boils down to considering all the personal risks that apply to you and what's most important in terms of being covered. Identify what is a must-have compared with a nice-to-have. Get multiple quotes for all the policies you have to have with careful consideration of what access you can afford. Step 6. Make sure your tax is efficient. Like insurance, tax and tax efficiency, paying the lowest amount of tax possible within your circumstances can be complicated and is the topic unpacked in more detail in the dedicated lesson. That's why there are specialist tax lawyers who are experts in the field. But for most people, tax efficiency comes down to one simple thing: maximizing your money's potential before tax deductions to reduce your tax liability, such as making payments into a retirement annuity or pension fund, like tax-free savings accounts or medical aid. Step 7. Make sure your dependents are covered. This is known as estate planning, and it's about deciding what will happen to your estate, which includes any investments, property, and shares after you die. The most important aspect of estate planning is to draft a will, where you can state your intentions for what will happen to your assets once your liabilities, including any money you still owe, have been settled. Once you've identified how you will distribute assets, the next step is thinking about how you can maximize the value of your estate for your friends or family. The biggest liability people have is often their home loan, which is why, if you can afford it, a life insurance policy that covers the outstanding amount on your home loan may be an option to consider. Once you've carefully considered and planned each step of a financial plan, you'll be that much closer to planning for a future of financial freedom, where you're not worried about money.